editing, and today I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to explain to you some of your Medicare benefits that some of you don't even. Anyways, so let me start over. This is Michelle with Michelle's Manifesto, coming at you from beautiful Bali, Indonesia. I just want to come at you this morning live because it requires less on my part to talk about some Medicare benefits that impacts each and every one of you. So even if you're not on Medicare, somebody that you know is. And what I'm about to teach you today, I have taught many times in hospitals to nurses, doctors, patients, family members, etc. A little bit of background about me. I am a registered nurse and have been one for many years. My background includes being a RAC auditor. I've consulted with many hospitals. I go in and look at their models and that we're the best fit for that position. In other words, making sure that they had the education to be able to relay to you. Now, we are going to cover a lot. I really encourage you to get a pen and a paper because we're going to talk about skilled nursing. How many Medicare days you get? A queen of Medicare. And if you guys don't know this, Medicare is a very powerful entity, way stronger, much stronger than the IRS, okay? Medicare is putting physicians in jail as we speak, or prison. Forget jail. They're going to prison for frauding Medicare. And some of you think that are in your 40s and 50s, you're like, oh, Medicare's not going to be there when I get older. Yeah, it might not be if people keep frauding it. That's why I want to educate and reinforce this information so that when you or your loved one is in the hospital, you can make more informed decisions because you're going to know what's up. Okay? So I'm going to give you a couple seconds to get a pen and a paper so that we can cover some really, really important information that will impact your life. Okay? Just going to drink my green tea. Hopefully all of you are drinking your green tea if it's okay with your doctor. I know I do. It's got a little caffeine in it, but it's so good for me. All right, you got your pen and paper? Let's go. All right, as mentioned, I have given the same information that I'm about to share with you for many doctors, to many nurses, case managers, social workers, but most importantly, I educated my patients and their family members whenever I had an opportunity. Part of my job used to go in to a patient's room and do a case management assessment. My background is really strong in trauma, sports medicine, inpatient rehab, and that's a place that you go if you've had a stroke or a neurological issue or maybe an amputation or a traumatic brain injury. I used to be the program director for one of those facilities. So between me and the physiatrist, we decided which patients came to our facility. Okay, and there's so much to cover, and we'll have to do 2 or 3 more pieces on those topics anyway, but today we'll keep it just to your Medicare acute days, your skilled days, and levels of care. And we might talk about like OBS and inpatient. All right, let's first discuss what Medicare allows traditional Medicare recipients. I am not talking about Medicare Advantage plans. I'm simply talking about your Part A, your Part B, and then of course you've got your Part D, okay? All right, so first and foremost, Medicare allows per benefit period. Now, this is very important to know, and I will leave a link in the description. A Medicare benefit period is not per calendar year. It starts the day you're admitted to the hospital, to discharge, and when you're out of all care for 60 consecutive days or 60 days in a row. Out of all care means home, a nursing home, or an assisted living. Now, a nursing home is a little confusing because, yes, you're getting care like grooming, toileting, and feeding, but patients that live in nursing homes live there. We'll get into a skilled nursing facility in a little bit, but just for 60 days. That means No hospital, no LTAC, no inpatient rehab, and no skilled nursing facility. Okay? It's all right if you go to a nursing home from the hospital, if you live there, or you're not getting skilled services. And first of all, if you live in a nursing home, you're not getting skilled services because Medicare does not pay for the nursing home. It only pays for the skilled nursing beds that are rented for patients that are requiring. Might have to reinforce a few things along the way. It's hard to explain this type of information without confusing you a little bit, okay? But it's all right because we'll tie it all in and wrap it all up. All right. So, recap. Benefit period is from the time a Medicare recipient is admitted to the hospital, discharged, and out of all care for 60 days in a row. Now, let's talk about how many days you get. Medicare says per benefit period, you get 90 acute hospital days. And then you have what's called 60 lifetime reserve days. So 90 acute days, 60 lifetime reserve days. Those 90 acute days will reset over and over and over again. It happens many times within the year, unfortunately, because people are readmitted, okay? But the 60 lifetime reserve days that you get are just that. Once they're used, they can never be reset, ever, ever again, okay? Now, Medicare also gives you 100 skilled nursing facility days per benefit period. It's the same benefit period that applied to the acute days, applies to the skilled nursing facility days, okay? Now, the difference is the acute days are 90 days that can reset, skilled nursing is 100 days that can reset, okay? Now, as mentioned, that 60 lifetime reserve days won't reset. So let's just do an example. I go into the hospital and I stay 95 days. Okay. So I've used all 90 days that Medicare allowed. But since they only gave me 90 days and I was there for 95, I now have to borrow from 5 of those 60 lifetime reserve days. Okay. So I go home. I leave and I go home. I'm home for 60 days. Okay. I come back into the hospital. Those 90 days that I already used, they've already reset. So now I have 90 days, 90 new days to play with. But I still only have 55 lifetime reserve days because those days don't reset. Okay? Now, that's acute days. Let's talk about skilled nursing facility days. A skilled Okay, sorry you guys, I'm losing my connection. So the skilled nursing facility, those first 20 days at 100%. So that means you'll have nothing out of pocket. However, on that 21st day, if you don't have a secondary like Blue Cross Blue Shield or Medicaid or some other secondary insurance, you're going to have a 20% patient responsibility. Okay? Now, we'll talk about that in a whole nother piece because there's way too much to cover today. All right. So let's do another scenario. I come into the hospital, okay? And I use 90 of my acute days. And on the 90th day, my facility or skilled nursing care. And then I transfer from the hospital to the skilled nursing facility. And I stay the whole 100 days. Okay. Plus, I had a secondary that picked up my 20% co-insurance on the 21st day. And then I go home and I stay out of all care for 80 days. And then I come back to the hospital. My 90 days reset, and so did my 100 skilled nursing facility days. Okay. Now, in the skilled nursing facility, you will usually have some requirements like skilled nursing care. You might need some IV antibiotics. You might need some wound care. You might need some physical therapy or occupational therapy. And those are usually the main reasons why you would go to a skilled nursing facility. So it's very important that you understand when you go to the skilled nursing facility that those days are burning up your Medicare days. Some patients that go to a skilled nursing facility might only go for maybe physical therapy or occupational therapy or maybe even speech therapy. And if they go to the hospital, or excuse me, the skilled nursing facility, and the therapist comes in and they want to do therapy, and the patient is like tired because maybe they didn't get any sleep last night because the call bells and the nursing and all of this background noise, the therapist will document that they refused. Okay, so it's very important for you, and I know we all get tired, we all get sleep deprived, but just be mindful that you're using your Medicare days. It's not that those are put on pause. So if you have a family member that goes to a skilled nursing facility, but they're too tired or they just flat out don't want to participate, you might want to consider taking them home if they're medically stable. And I would talk to your doctor about it, because the problem is if you burn through those days and you don't go out of all care for 60 days, those days won't reset. Okay, and then you're going to have to apply for another insurance like Medicaid or something else. Okay, so just a little recap. Medicare acute, 90 days. Those can reset over and over. 60 lifetime reserves. Those won't reset. Once they're gone, that's it. Medicare gives 100. Okay. Okay. You guys, I'm really having some camera difficulties, but anyhow, let's talk about levels of care is always the top of this for long-term acute care. The LTAC is the same thing as the hospital, except they don't have an ER or an OR. Everything hospital can do, and sometimes even better, and we'll get to that, except for surgeries, and they don't have the ER. Okay. However, at an LTAC, you that require conscious sedation. Conscious sedation is usually where the doctor or the surgeon or whomever will give you like some medications, might be like Versed, might be some fentanyl. It's just whatever they decide to give you pain control and kind of make you forget what's going on.